The Bhagavad Gita with commentary by Sri Aurobindo. Chapter 4, Part 1, The Avatar and the Divine Worker. To the modern mind, Avatarhood is one of the most difficult to accept or to understand of all the ideas that are streaming in from the East upon the rationalized human consciousness. We have to remark carefully that the upholding of Dharma in the world is not the only object of the descent of the Avatar, that great mystery of the divine manifest in humanity. For the upholding of the Dharma is not an all-sufficient object in itself, not the supreme possible aim for the manifestation of a Christ, a Krishna, a Buddha, but is only the general condition of a higher aim and a more supreme and divine utility. For there are two aspects of the divine birth. One is a descent, the birth of God in humanity, the Godhead manifesting itself in the human form and nature, the eternal Avatar. The other is an ascent, the birth of man into the Godhead, man rising into the divine nature and consciousness. It is the being born anew in a second birth of the soul. It is that new birth which Avatarhood and the upholding of the Dharma are intended to serve. This double aspect in the Gita's doctrine of Avatarhood is apt to be missed by the cursory reader satisfied, as most are, with catching a superficial view of its profound teachings. And it is missed too by the formal commentator, petrified in the rigidity of the schools. The Avatar is a direct manifestation in humanity by Krishna, the divine soul, of that divine condition of being to which Arjuna, the human soul, the type of a highest human being, a vibhuti, is called upon by the teacher to arise, and to which he can only arise by climbing out of the ignorance and limitation of his ordinary humanity. It is the manifestation from above of that which we have to develop from below. It is the descent of God into that divine birth of the human being into which we mortal creatures must climb. It is the attracting divine example given by God to man in the very type and form and perfected model of our human existence. No work the world needs is to be shunned by the divine worker. The mind that takes refuge in physical inactivity is still under the delusion that it, and not nature, is the doer of works. It does not see that even in what seems absolute inertia, greater than that of the stone or clod, nature is at work, keeps unimpaired her hold. On the contrary, in the full flood of action, the soul is free from its works, is not the doer, not bound by what is done, and he who lives in the freedom of the soul, not in the bondage of the modes of nature, alone has release from works. The divine is the Lord of his works. The divine worker is only their channel through the instrumentality of his nature, conscious of and subject to her Lord. By the flaming intensity and purity of this knowledge, all his works are burned up as in a fire, and his mind remains without any stain. To do all in this liberating knowledge, without the personal egoism of the doer, is the first sign of the divine worker. The second sign is freedom from desire, for where there is not the personal egoism of the doer, desire becomes impossible. Another sign of the divine worker is that which is central to the divine consciousness itself, a perfect inner joy and peace, which depends upon nothing in the world for its source or its continuance. It is innate. It is the very stuff of the soul's consciousness. The action of the liberated man is indeed a purely physical action, for all else comes from above, is not generated on the human plane, is only a reflection of the will, knowledge, joy of the divine Purushottama. This spiritual impersonality is a third sign of the divine worker. The result of this knowledge, this desirelessness, and this impersonality is a perfect equality in the soul and the nature. Equality is the fourth sign of the divine worker.
Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Imam Vivasvate Yogam Proktavan Avyam Vivasvan Manave Praho Manurikshva Kave Bravit Evam Parampara Praptam Imam Rajarshayo Viduhu Sakale Neha Mahata Yogo Nashtah Parantapo Sa Evayam Maya Tedya Yoga Proktah Puratanaha Bhakto Sime Sakha Cheti Rahasyam Shetaduttamam Arjuna Uvacha Aparam Bhavato Janma Paranjanma Vivasvataha Kathame Tadvijaniyam Tvamado Proktavaniti Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Bahuni me Vyatitani Janmani Tavacharjuna Tanyaham Veda Sarvani Natvam Vetha Parantapo Ajopi San Avyatma Bhutanam Ishwaropi San Prakritim Swamadhishthaya Sambhavamyatmamaya Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirбhavati bharata abhyutthanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya ca dushkritam dharma sansthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge janma karma ca me divyam evam yo vetti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti sorjuno vitaraga bhayakrodha manmaya mamupashritaha bahavo jnana tapasa puta madbhavamagataha ye yatha mam prapadyante tanstathaiva bhajamyaham mama vartman vartante manushyaah partha sarvashah kankshantah karmanam siddhim yajanta iha devataah क्षिप्रं हिमानुषे लोके सिद्धिर्भवति कर्मजा चातुर्वर्ण्यं मया सृष्टं गुणकर्मविभागशः तस्य कर्तारमपि मां विद्यकर्तारमव्ययं न मां कर्माणि लिम्पन्ति न मे कर्मफले स्पृहा इति मां योऽभिजानाति कर्मभिर्न स बध्यते एवं ज्ञात्वा कृतं कर्म पूर्वैरपि मुमुक्षुभिः कुरु कर्मैव तस्मात् त्वं पूर्वैः पूर्वतरं कृतं किं कर्म किमकर्मेति कवयोऽप्यत्र मोहिताः तत्ते कर्म प्रवक्ष्यामि यज्ञात्वा मोक्षसे शुभात् कर्मणो ह्यपि बोद्धव्यं च विकर्मणः कर्मणस्य बोद्धव्यं गहना कर्मणो गतिः कर्मण्यकर्म यः पश्येत् अकर्मणि च कर्म यः स बुद्धिमान् मनुष्येषु स युक्तः कृत्स्नकर्मकृत् यस्य सर्वे समारम्भाः कामसङ्कल्पवर्जिताः ज्ञानाग्निदग्धकर्माणं तमाहुः पण्डितं बुधाः त्यक्त्वा कर्मफलासङ्गं नित्यतृप्तो निराश्रयः कर्मण्यभिप्रवृत्तोऽपि नैव किञ्चित् करोति सः निराशीर्यतचित्तात्मा त्यक्तसर्वपरिग्रहः शारीरं केवलं कर्म कुर्वन्नाप्नोति किल्बिषं यदृच्छालाभसन्तुष्टो द्वन्द्वातीतो विमत्सरः समसिद्धावसिद्धौ च कृत्वापि न निबध्यते गतसङ्गस्य मुक्तस्य ज्ञानावस्थितचेतसः यज्ञायाचरतः कर्म समग्रं प्रविलीयते.
Avatarhood and the Divine Worker. The Blessed Lord said, "This imperishable yoga I gave to Vivasvan, the sun god. Vivasvan gave it to Manu, the father of men. Manu gave it to Ikshvaku, head of the solar line. And so it came down from royal sage to royal sage, till it was lost in the great lapse of time, O Parantapa. This same ancient and original yoga has been today declared to thee by me, for thou art my devotee and my friend. This is the highest secret." Arjuna said, "The sun god was one of the firstborn of beings, ancestor of the solar dynasty, and thou art only now born into the world. How am I to comprehend that thou declarest it to him in the beginning?" The Blessed Lord said, "Many are my lives that are past, and thine also, O Arjuna. All of them I know, but thou knowest not, O scourge of the foe. Though I am the unborn, though I am imperishable in my self-existence, though I am the Lord of all existences, yet I stand upon my own nature, and I come into birth by my self-maya. Whensoever there is the fading of the Dharma and the uprising of unrighteousness, then I loose myself forth into birth. For the deliverance of the good, for the destruction of the evildoers, for the enthroning of the right, I am born from age to age. He who knoweth thus in its right principles my divine birth and my divine work, when he abandons his body, comes not to rebirth. He comes to me, O Arjuna. Delivered from liking and fear and wrath, full of me, taking refuge in me, many purified by austerity of knowledge have arrived at my nature of being, the divine nature of the Purushottama. As men approach me, so I accept them to my love. Men follow in every way my path, O son of Pritha. They who desire the fulfillment of their works on earth sacrifice to the gods, because the fulfillment that is born of works without knowledge is very swift and easy in the human world. The fourfold order was created by me according to the divisions of quality and active function. Know me for the doer of this, who am yet the imperishable non-doer. Works fix not themselves on me, nor have I desire for the fruits of action. He who thus knoweth me is not bound by works. So knowing was work done by the men of old who sought liberation. Do therefore thou also work of that more ancient kind done by ancient men. What is action and what is inaction? As to this even the sages are perplexed and deluded. I will declare to thee that action by the knowledge of which thou shalt be released from all ills. One has to understand about action as well as to understand about wrong action, and about inaction one has to understand. Thick and tangled is the way of works. He who in action can see inaction, and can see action still continuing in cessation from works, is the man of true reason and discernment among men. He is in yoga, and a many-sided universal worker for the good of the world, for God in the world, whose inceptions and undertakings are free from the will of desire, whose works are burned up by the fire of knowledge. Him the wise have called a sage. having abandoned all attachment to the fruits of his works, ever satisfied without any kind of dependence, he does nothing, though through his nature he engages in action. He has no personal hopes, does not seize on things as his personal possessions. His heart and self are under perfect control. Performing action by the body alone, he does not commit sin. He who is satisfied with whatever gain comes to him, who has passed beyond the dualities, is jealous of none, is equal in failure and success. He is not bound even when he acts. When a man liberated, free from attachment, with his mind, heart, and spirit firmly founded in self-knowledge, does works as a sacrifice, all his work is dissolved.